Where are you now,
Yeah.
Exeter then?
No, I'm back in Plymouth now.
Oh
I'm
right,
sort of
okay.
living. I'm sort of living between the two at the moment. Um, yeah, because the council are refusing to house me up there because of the breakdown that I had in December. I won a court case actually so they had to have a duty of care. But
Right.
as soon as I came out of custody, they've denied all knowledge of that. So I've got a solicitor at the moment that's agreed, like a no win no fee solicitor, has agreed to take on the case to get my duty of care back, so that I can like bid on properties and stuff again. Because the only reason I lost it was because of a breakdown. The anniversary of my little boy's death and stuff, and my head just fell off. You know what I mean, I'd not been in trouble for like 12 years or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, that's a long time.
Well, for anyone, that's a long time, mate.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
yeah.
mean?
Well, yeah. I was in and out from 15. I thought I was something. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I was just, yeah, fucking. So I'm trying to win my right back so that I can live and have my own place
Mate,
and get back
it's
what I had.
just it's just a fucking constant stress, isn't it?
It's non-stop, mate. It's
It
non-stop.
is
It's
fucking
non-stop.
honestly, mate. I've been like, obviously, I'm not going to go massively into any of my shit, like, but obviously, I've got a court case coming, like a civil court case where I'm
Yeah,
taking
yeah,
people to
yeah.
court and stuff. Like, do you know what I mean? But like, I've just you've just seen that post, mate. I've had a year and a half of civvy life, right? Because obviously, I've come back out the forces,
It's not for
and it
you.
was all, yeah, it was just like it was going all right. Like, well, no, it wasn't. It was always stressful and that. But where do you
Yeah,
know what? Where I jumped into the charity sector from the management side. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it was the first time I'd seen it from that side.
seen it from the
Uh,
inside, like.
yeah, do you know what I mean? And like before, I'd only seen it as a service user, and actually, you think that everything's there to help you. Do you know what I mean? And you think that you're getting help, but just I've got a totally different view about the charity sector now. Like, I think it's a fucking
Yeah.
swamp to start with.
Just from reading your posts alone and what you've told me, we spoke about, it's a filthy game,
Well,
really.
yeah, what I loved, right? What I loved. I mean, we're going to get on to the actual thing that we're doing, which is I want to know all about being sectioned. Just like pure intrigue. I'm just pure intrigued about it, right? But like
Yeah,
even before that, I remember when I got a job at that hostel that I used to live at, and then I quit. What I really loved is that you were one of the people that when I put the posts up regarding rent and and how people get stuck in that system. Do you know what I mean? When I was saying, oh, if you get a job while you're in that hostel, rent's
it was
£1,500 a
set up
month.
for me to not work. I couldn't do
Yeah.
nothing.
So what
You know.
what I love is that loads of people like commenting, especially people from that I'd met in the forces that didn't come from our background. Do you know what I mean? They knew about my time, they knew about my background, but they didn't really know about it. Do you know what I mean? They just knew what I would tell them. But when I put that up and I was like, yeah, and there was loads of people like, what? And people just couldn't believe it. And some people were saying, is that a typo? But there was a few of us, and you were one of them that just popped up and went, yeah, it's always been like that. Just really
Yeah.
blasé about it. Like, it's always been like that. And
Well, they
when you
claim all
say
the
this,
money for support, but there is no support. So all these hundreds and hundreds of pounds that you put on top of your normal what rent would be to stay there is covered. It's supposed to be for support for you, to get you
yeah,
sorted, to get you in the
yeah,
gym,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
to get you doing.
Well, I just,
None of that.
yeah, I went into it, and I was always asking the question. I think, and this is what I took from the forces, because when I went into the forces, I suddenly got what I deemed as proper support, but it was very practical. Do you know what I mean? So it was like, and that's what I was asking at that hostel when they was like, oh well, that £1,500 pays for the support, but I was like, well, what's the support? And really, what they mean is it pays for wages for
Yeah,
support workers. But I was always of the mindset, well, if the support's good, these people should be moving on. But, so and so's been here for 4 years. And then I was
yeah.
saying, where's the driving licenses? Where's the fucking CSCS cars? Where's the work boots? Where's this? Where's that? Do you know what I mean? Why are people like they're still jumping metros and public transport and stuff?
Yeah,
Why aren't
yeah.
you just getting them a monthly
A,
pass?
a governor in a prison explained it to me one time, because I used to do support work in there, like Fred's. It was like a support for autistic and just problem people, like. And I've sat down with the governors quite a lot, and we do like risk assessments and do like acts and like suicide watches and stuff like that. And because obviously a prisoner would trust a prisoner more than they would a fucking screw or whatever. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I'm speaking to this governor, and he said, "Well, you got to understand, mate. This is a business.
yeah,
All
of
of
course
this
it.
is a business. It's a revolving door. We're not here to
Yeah,
fix you. We're not here to help you. We're not here to make you better." And he says, horrific as that sounds, it's not set up for that. It's set up to
Well,
make money.
that hostel's run by a charity. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's we're a charity. We don't make profit. Well, the fucking manager, the CEO of the hostel is on not of the hostel. The CEO of the charity that runs the hostel, Home Group. And they're a big charity, right? But he's on 137 grand a year. So it's like, well, all right, you're not making a profit because the fucking profit is being used for fucking stupid places like that. Do you know what I mean? 137 grand a year. So there was there's been loads, mate. There's been loads that I've seen that I'm really, really angry about. It's weird because I've set up Prodex. I'm replicating what we were doing at Sports Trader, and that's a scam. Do you know what I mean? And I don't give a shit. I'll say it on camera. They can come and sue me. They won't. But
they'll shoot themselves in the foot.
Well, it won't surprise anybody to know that I am gunning for them. Like behind the scenes, I am full blown like scorched earth. Like, do you know what I mean? I am
inside out, all of this shit.
Yeah, I'm fuming. Do you know what I mean? I'm absolutely fuming. But yeah, so I'm trying to replicate what we were doing, and I didn't want to turn it into a charity. But the way everything's set up, like I have to turn it into a charity to get some of the benefits that I need to get it off the ground. But I'm hoping that once we've got what I'm putting in place is a business plan, and it runs on profit that we make from a shop. Do you know what I mean? It's not. We don't need donations or things like that. The wages, I was saying to everybody, the wages, like I was talking to the trustees, and it was like, how do you sort the wages out? And I'm like, well, obviously I do want paid for the time that I'm at the shop and I'm putting in graft, but just pay me like £15 an hour, which I think is a really good wage. And then I'll take advantage of all the free gym stuff that the lads get. And that's me happy, like, do you know what I mean? I don't understand why.
You don't want for much, you know what I mean? You don't want for much.
No, like, why do you need, I mean, if you're making 137 grand a year off of people's misery, I think you should be, it's just disgusting. It's disgusting, honestly. But I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk. I want to talk about.
Get into the nitty gritty of the.
Yeah, well, do you know what? Because I've just been really unwell, like physically and mentally, as in.
Don't go to hospital.
You what?
Don't go to hospital.
Well, no, but like I won't lie. Like when I hear about people like sectioning themselves and stuff, when I was really ill, there was a part of me that's like, that's an attractive proposition. That do you know what I mean? Like, and then it was like.
Worst thing I ever did in my life, mate. I swear to God.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to know. Like, what is the crack? Because I don't, I don't know what they're like inside or how you go about it.
It started off like I got really unwell back in. Like,
how old were you?
This is back in about 2014, 15. So I was a bit older. I was a bit older. I'd been in and out of mental health. I'm 37 soon, and I've been in and out of mental health care for 20 odd years, like since I was a kid. Like I have.
Can I just because I want to go over it. So I just wanted to know, like, what when did that start? Mental health issues, like what age and how did it manifest itself?
Do you know what? I don't give a fuck. We'll go deep from the start. When I was little, I was fucked about with by two filthy little men, and it absolutely destroyed me from there on out. So I had trauma-based complex PTSD from day dot, really.
Yeah.
And no one knew about it. I didn't tell no one because I was ashamed, and I thought, I thought everyone's talking about gays, and I think, well, I've just had this happen. I'm fucking gay now because I was a kid. Like I was fucking 8 years old or something, like 9 years old or something. Do you know what I mean? It's all like it went on till I was like 12 until I realized like it was fucking wrong. And I knew it was wrong, but you're a kid, you don't understand. And the grooming part of it, the manipulation part of it, it just controlled my brain. It still does now. Still, the physical parts, I don't give a fuck because if they came near me now, they wouldn't be around anymore. But like the mental part of it stays with me and has not gone and will not go. Really, I'm supposed to be having trauma therapy and stuff, and like, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to go for that. Like, this is why I wanted to jump on this as well because I was talking to a good friend of mine who I've just been away with for a while. And we've been talking, got quite deep about mental health and like my issues and stuff. And she was like, "Fucking hell, lad, you've been through like so much." And like, what the fuck? And then you just popped up with this. Do you want to do this mental health thing? And I was just like, "Fucking yeah, mate. When? Like tomorrow, let's do it." Do you know what I mean? Because I need to chat as well. Like this is good. Like, you know what I mean? And people need to know what it's like in there because you don't see it. They don't let you know. Like. We'll start off by my diagnosis is that trauma-based PTSD, but I have EUPD as well, which is like emotionally unstable personality disorder.
Right.
which usually goes quite par and par with like PTSD and stuff. They diagnosed it as bipolar for years and treated me for that, medicated me for that, fucked me up even more on the medication from that. And then it's sort of, then I went, I said, look, I've had enough. I need to go to hospital. I said, because I'm going to hurt myself. Like, I'm actually, you know, I'd already tried to hang myself. My dad had resuscitated me. And I thought, I need to go to hospital, like, you know. And went to my GP. And a lovely woman, do you know what I mean? But she didn't know what to do with me at a young age, just loaded me up with diazepam and God knows what, just to do you know what I mean? I sort of fucked them from the start already. I had a drug habit at whatever age, because the benzos and the medications they give you are worse than anything out there, like, you know? And,
prescription drugs, man.
yeah, mate. So there's some of the psychological meds they giving me and all that shit, mate. They're the worst ones. They're
the legal ones, man. The legal ones will fuck you up, man.
Those mushrooms, you need to you need to smoke your bud or eat your bud or do whatever. That will make you better than any of that shit they pump your brain with. And I've seen it time and time again. And I've tried and errored in it, and I know what works and what doesn't. Anyway, I spoke to my GP. I said, listen, I need to go away. And she was like, we can't get you a bed anywhere. So there was nowhere in the southwest for ages. And then she goes, we've got a place in called Stoke, which is in Weston-super-Mare. And I got ambulance taken to there. Like, I spent the first night there, like, quite heavily sedated. Didn't really know much about like what was going on. And that place was horrific, mate. Like, I was only there 2 weeks voluntary.
I'm going to check with Earl, because I know that he got sectioned in Weston-super-Mare when he left. Do you know what I mean? You know the lad that I did the first podcast with, my mate.
Yeah, I remember we were doing training with him, weren't we?
When COVID, during COVID, when we were everyone was videoing.
Star jumping and that. But no, I went there, and that place is a bad place, mate. I was there 2 week voluntary. It was all right at first. Like, I was allowed to go out a little bit.
Can we jump back? Can you just sort of run me through like what the actual process is? So you go to your doctor.
Yeah, I went to the doctor. It's hard. Yeah. It's hard. I'll be honest with you. To get myself sectioned, we'll get to this point, but to get myself sectioned in December, when things got really bad, I was in custody, and it got to the point where I was having to bash my head off walls. Like, I've got open scars all over my head, where I was having to full blown headbutt walls for them to listen. Because I was like, you need to take me to hospital. I'm unwell. Take me to hospital. They weren't having none of it. There was no there's no mental health training with the police. They don't understand. They'll admit it themselves. They don't know how to deal with you. So they'll make your situation 100 times worse because they don't know. They should be mental health trained, basic. Like, they don't have to go and do full psychology courses, but they should have some sort of mental health awareness, which they don't. And at that point, I had to physically make them take me to hospital, and it fucking. We'll get to this part in a bit, but we'll go back to the process. So I went to my GP. I asked, and it's really hard though, because they'll bring in a doctor, like a psychiatrist. He'll chat to you, and it's like, I think it's 2 or 3 have to agree that you need to be sectioned. So like, you can't just say one, can't just say right, go. There has to be like at least 2, I think it is. So they both have to agree, and like they agreed to get me in there, because this had been going on for years. I've been unwell for years. I self-harmed. I've done lots of stupid shit, and a lot of things were explained by my mental health, like, you know. So they put me in hospital, and I got to this Stoke place, man, and it's just a different world. Like, they were over medicating me. They were giving me medications that interacted with others. Like, my mum came to visit me one day, and I spent 4 hours with my head in my knees. Better than any heroin or anything anyone would ever take, because it just wiped me out, and it was horrific. At that point in time, I was taking drugs and stuff, and I would never ever ask to lower the dose. Do you know what I mean? Because when you just want to you want more, you want more. I was begging them. They were just giving me pain, because my head was so gouged out all the time. They was giving me painkillers for my neck rather than lowering meds to stop me from being that way.
And so is it like a heroin style buzz, like where you're gouching out?
Yeah, it was disgusting. Yeah, but it was, but it wasn't, because like it gives you that white noise in your head. There's nothing. All their medications do, these mental health medications, is they numb you to emotions. They don't fix them. They don't do anything. So you just turn into a drone. Like, there's nothing there in you. So it isn't like the opiate buzz, like the cotton wool. Like, it ain't that. It's like, it just takes your soul out, like, you know, and it was horrific, mate. And I was I was coming to the second week, and I said, look, like I need to go now. So I had a little car valeting, not business, but like I was doing like a car valeting thing on the side of like this recovery business place. He'd let me use the unit on the side. I was actually doing all right, but life was so fucked for me. I needed to go and repair myself so that I could come out and continue, because this was the first time I'd proper done something for myself and not just agency work or whatever. And I really wanted to go and pursue it. So I'm sort of begging them to let me out. I said, look, like it's coming now. I'm under here in voluntary section. So I'm packing my bag. The next thing I know, loads of doctors are coming in. And they're like, look, we don't think you're ready to go. I was like, well, I haven't done anything since I've been here. I've been happy. I've been allowed out during the day so I could go to the beach. It's right on the beachfront of Weston-super-Mare. I felt a lot better. Like, you know, I felt it done what it needed to do, like sort of thing. I know I was talking about the medication, but this sort of came. Sorry, I've gone in backwards. The medication stuff came afterwards. When I first went there, it wasn't like that. It was you know, you had your day room. There was a lot of spacey weirdness and weird people around, like, you know, and it wasn't the most comfortable environment, but you could rest, and it felt all right. But as soon as I asked to leave, it just escalated, mate. And like, a few doctors come in. I'm like, well, you're not really going to stop me from leaving. I'm here voluntarily. I'm going. So I'm packing my bag, trying to walk to the door, and they're forcefully trying to hold me back in the room. So I'm fighting with these doctors now. You know, I'm getting out of there, like, you know. So I did. I'm smacking the life out of them. I'm getting dragged to the ground, getting my trousers pulled off. Fucking 2 jabs in that cheek, 1 in that cheek. That's you gone for 2 days. Like, game over for 2 days. And you're supposed to, like, they're supposed to get you up every few hours for food and water and things like that. But I was waking up like piss wet through, where I'd pissed myself because they had not got me up. And like, there's like a chalk outline of sweat around me. So there's no way I'd moved. I've just been comatose in this bed for 2-3 days. But they're saying they fed me, and they're saying they watered, and, you know, I'm not fucking animal fed and water. You know what I mean? They said they looked after me, but they hadn't. They definitely hadn't. And it just escalated. And I got to the point where I was like, right, well, I don't want to be here. I can't leave, but I'm not staying awake in this environment. So I knew every time I kicked off, I would get that jab, and I would go sleep for 2-3 days. And they had these little alarms on them, little sensor alarms that they could pull. And it had sensors all over the hospital, and it would know if one went off, it would know where all the doctors could go to. Like, so if there's a problem, they could pull this little thing, and it would like set an alarm off, and then all the doctors would come running to that area. And I learned quickly to I just go out and I just pull the alarm off, and then the things, all the bells would go. They'd come running, pants down, like, you know. And I got moved then. At that point, you was allowed your iPhone. You was allowed to communicate with the outside. You was allowed to do stuff. They move you to an acute place, right? So an acute is like where you're volatile. It's not like the normal sort of hospital. If you're acute, which I'm still classed as now, I can't just go to a normal ward. I can't just go to Wamford House in Exeter. It has to be an acute hospital now, geared up for that, which is usually people with like the criminally insane and fucking shit like that. And we'll get into that. But like, I got moved downstairs, and they said, right, we need to take your smartphone off you. You're not allowed cameras, microphone, or any recording material down in this part. Well, why the fuck are you not allowed that down there? If everything's normal, why are you not allowed to have a phone? If you're allowed a phone upstairs where things are all like, you know, why can't you record downstairs? What's the difference? Do you know what I mean? And the difference is the treatment, how they have you down there. I was being levered left, right, and centre at one point. Like, it was just ridiculous, man. A girl afterwards, that was one of my carers. I wasn't allowed to be a metre away from 2 staff at all times whilst I was down there. So you had to stay there. Like, you'd go to bed, there'd be a seat beside you, they'd be sat there. You'd go for a shit, they'd have to stand with the door there, right, staring at you. You couldn't do anything. And it got to the point where I was just trying to kill myself. I had enough. Like, I had enough. Like, do you know what I mean? I fucking went into the washroom, snuck a carrier bag, like a wash bag, tied it around my head, tied it around the bed, fucking pinned myself to the bed, and just like choked myself in under the pillow after they'd done the roll count to go. Like, and obviously this guy must have felt something or known something, because he came back. They came running in. They've managed to get it off me, the oxygen. They've got me going again, like, you know. And then it'd be like a couple of days, but I was never really allowed out of my room. I was never allowed out. If I did, I'd have to be escorted by like 5 or 6. I was treated like an absolute animal, like, and I wasn't actually being that. It's like one flew over the cuckoo's nest kind of thing. Like, I didn't want to be here. I don't want to be here, so I'm not going to conform. Like, do you know what I mean? So I'm not going to do what you're telling me because I've asked for help. I've come here the right way. I've done everything through. I've gone all through the processes. I've gone through all the mental health teams, all throughout life. Done everything the right way. Asked for help, and now I'm captive in your fucking horrid environment. Do you know what I mean? I'm now a captive in your environment. Do you know what I mean? So it was just my head was like gone. It made me so unwell, so unwell. Like, fucking mad, mate. Like I say, my mum come visit me, and I spend 4 hours with my head in my knees, and like, I spent a couple months there, and just doing that same shit, kicking off every day. And like I said, I spoke to this girl afterwards. She was one of the people that had to be like the staff who would be stood near me.
Yeah.
And I spoke to her on Facebook when I got out. She added me on Facebook when I got out. Which is probably should have done if you're listening. So, yeah, she added me, and we was chatting for a while and stuff. And she was like, "Fucking hell!" She was like, "We used to have a team meeting every morning about you." It's like, and instead of like, what's the matter with him? Speak to him, find out what's wrong. Let's try and sort this. It's like the minute he looks aggressive, or the minute he doesn't conform, moves everything, just put him to the ground and jab him. No messing about. Don't do it. Don't get into it with him. Don't talk with him. Just jab him. And that's a staff
Yeah,
member.
and that's not treatment, is it? That's
I
not
wanted someone
treatment.
to ask me what's the matter. Do you
Yeah,
know what I mean? I wanted
yeah,
someone to ask me, give me some cognitive. They had all these classes and cognitive therapy stuff and all that, but it was never running. It was never. The gym was never open. You'd get like, I think I went in the gym like 3 times. I begged every day that I was there to go to the gym. They had punch bags, they had everything all set up, ready to go, and like, it was never used. Like, none of it was ever used. It was just drug them up. If they kick off, jab them. Like, it was fucked, mate. There was no help there whatsoever, and they kept saying to me, "You're gonna go off to a medium secure soon. Which is like a step up. Like, medium secure is like, say if you like committed a crime, like a murder or something, and you claimed insanity, that's where you'd
yeah.
go.
Right.
So like,
Okay.
it's like a couple steps down from like Broadmoor, Rampton, things like that. It's scary shit. Like, it's not a place you want to go. But I didn't think nothing of it because I thought, right, I spoke to my mum, and we'd got this team of fucking lawyers, butlers, lawyers, or something up in Taunton or Bristol, or somewhere west, that sort of area. I can't remember, somewhere that area. And they were amazing. He came in and he was just like, "Look, I'm going to get you out, but it's going to take a long time." Like, I was like, "Well, what?" I said, "We can get an appeal process, but it's going to take a long time to get you out."
Right. What did that? Did that help you, or did that make you worse? Do you know what I mean? The fact that he's saying he's going to get you out, you like, sounds right. I'm going to get out, or
Yeah,
was it
yeah, I
bad?
knew I was
Or was it bad
going.
because he's saying it's going to take a long time? And you're like, what
Yeah, it was
the
a
fuck?
bit of
How long am I
both.
going to be here?
It was a bit of a roller coaster on that one because it was a bit of both. It was like I knew it was coming, but every day felt like 10 days in there because it was just like, there's people walking around throwing shit, pissing on people, fucking fighting. It was just the weirdest environment. It's not a place to get well because if you're slightly unwell when you go in there and you surround yourself with that, you become your environment in a way.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, you have to, didn't you? Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, it was so weird. Like, it was so weird. Like, I can't explain it. Like, really. And eventually, it got to the point like where they'd had enough. That hospital couldn't handle me, because I was just going mad, mate. Like, they was like, right, get him out, sort of thing. I don't remember, but I was jabbed one in the night, and I woke up 3 days later in Dawlish in a place called Langdon, and that place is, I don't know, mate. Bloody, like, Google it and look at it for a start. It looks like the Resident Evil building or something. It's all these mad pods. Like, it was just, it's like, yeah, it was a different world, mate. Like, as soon as you're in there, they take your shoelaces. You're not allowed anything like that. Like, there's nothing. Like, if you're in your room for too long, alarm would go off. If your bathroom too long, alarm would go off. There was nowhere where you could hurt yourself, do anything. It was like it was all clean and nice. I mean, it looked
yeah,
nice, but it was full of crazy motherfuckers, mate, and it bred insanity. Like most people that go there don't get out for like. I was one of the first people to win appeal to get out there in a couple of years.
Right.
Most people don't get out of there for at least 4 or 5 years. Most people don't, and a lot of them don't ever go back into the community. They'll go into like these. I don't know, like the supported housing we were talking about earlier, but just for mental health, and they'll always have
Right.
support workers be able to leave the house without them. Like, you know, like I know I talked about I was going mad and doing things like that, but I'm not that type of mad. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just distressed and upset and a bit broken because of fucked up shit that happened to me. Do you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
don't hear
it's
voices. I'm not. I don't want to hurt
well,
people. I don't want to like, you know.
no, so it's weird, isn't it? Because you're saying that you went in voluntarily, but it sounds very much like a prison sentence. What you described.
It was worse. It was worse, mate. I'll do jail any day over that. I'll do jail any day over that.
Well, people ask me about my time in like young offenders and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, what was it like?" And I think they're expecting like some dramatic stories, and I'm just like, "It's all right." Like, you know, I'm like, it wasn't brilliant. Yeah, I wasn't one of these people that loved prison, because you get some people, and I clearly wanted to get out. But like, even now, if something happened to me, like if I went out and something happened and I got sentenced to prison, I'm never going to be stood in the dock terrified. Do you know what I mean? I just think, fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean? Because I've been there. It's just it's just pain in the arse more than anything.
7 sentences I've done, right? Most of them were for children, like young offenders, stuff like that. And for 12 years, nothing. Like, do you know what I mean? Nothing. But again, like even in there, the mental health support in there is disgusting. Like Exeter's got one of the highest suicide rates in the country. It's got
do you know what? I've just messaged a mate of mine. What's weird about being in the forces, right, is obviously I went into the forces with my background, like fuck the police still, and like screws that. But then where I was in the forces, a couple of my mates, that I spent a lot of time with, that I deployed with, that I did trips with and stuff, and that I think is really decent human beings. One, especially a young lad that I joined up with, who's one of the nicest people that I've ever met. He left to become a copper. And at the time, he didn't tell me what he did do. He kept it secret from me, and then he admitted, and he was like, "I just didn't want to tell you because I knew, like, he was like, I was a bit worried." And I was like, "Well, actually, at least I know people like you are joining it." But one of my mates went off to be a prison officer, and then I'm not going to name him because I'm hoping that he's going to come on soon, because it didn't take long before he messaged me and said, "Ricky, like, this is fucking insane. It's just mental health problems galore." Do you know what I mean? He's saying that
himself up every day.
Yeah, he's saying it's self-harm, constant self-harm. And like he says the bulk of his job.
Out their pads with fucking ropes still around the neck when they just cut them off the top. It's like, moving in an hour. They got someone in the pad, and he's still got the knot on the fucking bar, like when they've hung themselves.
Yeah, he said that the bulk of his day is stopping people hurting themselves, and then because he's my friend, do you know what I mean? And all of a sudden I'm seeing it from his point of view. Like, he's really frustrated because what he's saying is, I didn't sign up to be a mental health worker, and he's saying the same thing. He's not trained in it. Do you know what I mean? And it's just because there's no mental health services left anymore because the Tories have cut everything. Do you know what I mean?
I've watched the money decline because I've been in the services, but like the mental health services from a child. I've watched the decline. Like I watched, like, I saw it get worse, and I saw all my care get taken away. I saw it get, like, I felt the decline of it. Do you know what I mean? I was there when there was lots of help. Like years ago, when I was younger, there was lots of it there. There was lots of support. Like when I was 15, 16, they would offer you everything, and there's all this stuff. And I wasn't ready to do it at the time, and I should have done. I was stupid. I should have accepted the help back then, but I just wasn't ready to process stuff. I wasn't ready to do it, like, so I didn't accept the help, which I'm gutted really, because now that isn't there. The support that was there isn't, and and I felt like I said.
But look, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? You know what I mean? I should have left school and got a job and bought a house and gone into property, and I'd be rich as fuck now, but it didn't happen. Do you know what I mean? So
there used to be a team of people, right, called the Pathfinder team, and they were based at Langdon, this hospital.
Right.
And I was their first ever client, like their first ever client for a personality disorder and stuff. And they worked with me for 4 years, and they were brilliant. They were constant. There was the main guy, Mike. He's passed away now, bless him. And the other woman, Jo, They were both my workers. They were absolutely amazing. Like, they were there anytime I wanted them, need them. They'd come to my house. We'd walk my dogs. They would get me back into society. They were, you know, because I got to the point where when I did come out of that place, and I was a recluse. I was agoraphobic pretty much. I didn't want to go out. Didn't just me, my dogs, my decks, and that was it. Do you know what I mean? I just didn't leave the house, like. And they would be like trying to get me out there, but slowly they got took away. Like, slowly, what's the money? It's the money, because there wasn't enough to have the constant care for me. And this is all whilst all this Tory shit's going on. So I sort of watched the decline. Like, when all this Brexit, I think Brexit was just about to start. I think I remember to vote to remain. I remember you're a Leaver, but I vote to remain. I think it was all around then, and all my care was taken away. And I got written a letter by the head guy of the mental health team, and I'll fully name him because the guy's a tosser, Dave Dewsbury. Yeah, he wrote to me. He was the head, and he probably still is, I think, of Exeter or Devon or something. And I hope you see this. Because I'm going to send this everywhere. He wrote to me and said, "Oh, Mr. Hood, you have to understand that not all mental health is treatable. So we're withdrawing your care. I hope you do well in life." And that's what the letter he sent me. And all that said to me was, basically, what you've tried didn't work. Now you fucking give up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not all mental health is treatable. I'm not saying it's treatable, but support me then. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to treat me. You don't have to fix me. Just help me.
It's like what you were saying at the beginning, isn't it? And it's like with, you know, even me, like I didn't suffer anything as bad as that when I was younger, but I didn't have a nice time. I know. I very rarely talk about it, but I was molested by two different people when I was growing up. My nan's lodger, and at one point, it's funny, I was watching that Dele Alli interview yesterday, and it was the same thing. You know, my mum was an alcoholic that used to have parties with loads of people in. At one point, I was upstairs in my bed asleep, and she told one of the guys that was really pissed there that he could go and just crash in my bed with me. Do you know what I mean? And then I woke up to some fucking strange man like feeling me up and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And touching me up and stuff. And then the next day, I told my mum. I told them. I told, and they did nothing. And then my nan's lodger groomed. Well, he tried to groom me, which is a weird one. But I've spoke to my wife about this. It shows how fucked up my childhood was. That I knew that he was grooming me. I took advantage of it. Do you know what I mean? I used to purposely get him to buy me stuff because I knew what he was doing. Do you know what I mean?
But I'm getting something out of this then.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? But at the same time, again, eventually I told people what was happening, and fuck all got done. Like, do you know what I mean? I got told. In fact, with the first person, my mum seemed to celebrate the fact that they'd had an argument with him in the pub about it. Right, that was it. No police call or anything. And with the second one, I outright got called a liar. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? And then on top of that. Yeah, but that stays with me. That I'm still today. Actually, I did a big walk today because a couple of things were happening. I was just full of fucking rage because I get really angry about. I know it sounds bizarre. I get really angry about the fact that I was kicked out of school. Like, it seems to only recently it seems to really be bothering me, the fact that I got kicked out of school.
I was kicked out, but they said I wasn't expelled, but I wasn't allowed back. And I've found out now that's because when they expel you, they have to give funding back for you.
All right.
If they don't expel you, they're still getting that funding for you. So it all comes back to fucking money again.
Yeah, it's always money. And I was permanently excluded at 14. And I look back and I think to myself, fuck me, that was my fifth school in the space of a year. Sorry, but by the time I got up to South Shields and went to that school, that was my fifth school in the space of a year, right? I'd moved to South Shields from one domestic violence unit in London to another domestic violence in South Shields overnight. So it's obvious why there was issues with my fucking behaviour. And it's like what you were saying. I look back at my school life and at not one point do I remember anybody saying, "Are you all right, mate?" Do you know what I mean?
Just treated as cunt, treated as a naughty.
It was just he's naughty. And I wasn't violent. I never got kicked out for any kind of violence. I got kicked out for messing around and being disruptive. And I think to myself, I was 14 and you ruined my fucking life. Do you know what I mean? By permanently excluding me. You took away my whole future because I was a bit naughty because I was a troubled young man. But yeah, so I get that. I get that it won't. I don't think it's ever going to leave us. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it'll ever leave you.
Like you had that horrible childhood from the family scenario. You know that your shit broke down in your family, and I didn't get it. I had no excuse from that. My family are good. Like my parents are good. Like I had a nice life. Like, took us on holidays. There was no reason for me to get unwell via that. Like, do you know what I mean? It was just what had happened. And then, like you say, kicked out of school. I was 15. I was 15. So then I'm like, right, what am I going to do? I'm already smoking weed. I'm already taking pills. I'm doing the Amfet and fucking, I'm already fucking spiraling anyway. Do you know what I mean? I'm not old enough to get a proper job. I'm in this sort of scenario where I'm fucked. So I was like, I left and I moved to Exeter. So I was in Oakhampton, a little town, and I moved to Exeter. And it was game over from there because I got moved into like a foyer, and you know what a foyer is because I think you worked at one. Yeah, so
I've lived in 2 foyers, and I just worked at one that I previously lived in. That's the hostel that I'm talking about. That's run by the fucking charity.
Yeah, but this foyer was the same thing. You couldn't work. You couldn't work because you couldn't afford to live there if you did. So like, everyone's just getting smashed. Do you know what I mean? Because it's a load of children that like have got no guidance. These parent support workers just sit in the fucking office. Do you know what I mean? It's like there was
even so before the foyer. So what happened with me is that I got made homeless at 16. I lived with some friends for a bit, and then I ended up in bed and breakfast. You know what I mean, like digs and stuff. So it was the same thing there, though. This is what people don't understand. As soon as you were in digs and the housing benefit was being paid for that. But I couldn't afford to go. You can't afford to go and get a job because your rent goes from, I think it was £10 out of each gyro to at the time it was like over £100 a week, and this was when I was 16, and like wages were like £130 a week and stuff. You know what I mean? So all of a sudden you're like, well, what do we do? Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's like, what do you do? Well, everyone just sits around getting stoned all day, so that's what you do. And then from there, I moved down.
Everyone would have the doors open, tunes pumping. Yeah.
It's a bit of a party. But then from there, I moved down to Slough.
It's not. It's like, you know what I mean?
I moved to Slough, and I moved into the foyer, not the foyer, I moved into a hostel called Cypher. Exactly what you just said there. I speak to a friend of mine called Heidi, who I'm desperate to come on at one point to get a female perspective of it all, because we were both in that place together. And she said it recently when we were talking. She was like, we were just fucking children, man. That was a whole building just full of really, really damaged children that couldn't go to work. And all we did was take drugs all the time. Do you know what I mean? That was all we fucking did was take drugs. And just the heavy drug use, the fact that you're not part of society, the fact that you're all angry, it just eventually that kills your brain as well, I think. And I'm friends with one of the staff members there, and we've actually sort of disagreed a couple of times, and she's seen it from my perspective. I've tried to see it from her perspective. I was like, that place didn't help anybody. That made us worse. Do you know what I mean? And she said there was points where she saw me. I wasn't living there. I was homeless. I'd been kicked out. But she was like, yeah, we saw that there was points where you looked really, really unwell. But I'm one of those, you coined that term when you were talking to me. I was one of those pure like crack fallers. I fell through every crack. I wasn't a registered drug addict. I wasn't a registered alcoholic. I hadn't been in care since so that didn't count. And I was just left to fend for myself, really unwell.
Exactly. You slipped through every fucking, you seem to for every crack. But that's just
homeless, skinny, drug addict, really mentally unwell, and everyone was like, look at that scumbag.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, what let's help him. Let's see if he's all right. Do you know what I mean? Let's see what's the matter here.
I saw that. So when I worked in that hostel, and again, I'm not going to name anything. When I worked in that hostel, there was a lad there who, listen, right, I still carry some of the stuff from when I was younger. I don't give certain people the time of day. He was, really, really bad, like heroin addict. I avoid that straight away. Do you know what I mean? He was a really bad heroin addict. He was in the news recently. He'd been stealing charity boxes, and everybody's in the comments like, scumbag, send him to prison, do this, do that, do this. And I'm like, kid's like 18 years old. He's fucking hopelessly addicted to heroin. He's in an environment that he can't get out of. Why is everybody quick? Why is everybody self-harm? Yeah, well, heroin wipes it out, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? Heroin. I've said this.
Even if you get clean, and then you do it again, knowing full well you're going to get a habit. So it's self-harm. You know what you're doing.
Nobody's asking, why is his life fallen? Because at 15, right, 14, 15, even when I was expelled from school, at 14, 15, you've got dreams. You think, oh, right, I want to be this when I grow up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then by 18... I was
going to Royal Engineers, do you know what I mean?
And then for me, by 17, I was like, oh, my life's fucked. you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's it. It's wiped out. I've got no prospects whatsoever. So what should
But
I
like you
do?
say,
I tell you what, I went on a rob. That's what I did. I went on a rob. Like, do you know
yeah,
what I mean? I robbed everything and
little
everyone
grafter.
blind, and
It was only
I was
motors for
horrible.
me. It was only cars. Little cars was my thing. Stealing cars was my
Shop
thing
shops
when I was
for
a kid.
me. Yeah, shops for me, and then I'm not shops. It is what it is. It progressed with me with the drug use to houses, including creepers, which I'm very ashamed of. Do you know what I mean? 'Cause
Yeah,
that's like
yeah.
that's naughty stuff. That.
Yeah, because
But
some robbers have a bit of a thing where they'll do commercials, but they won't do
won't
domestics
do
and commercial.
houses and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, like
And that's
creepers.
still my attitude now.
How
I
you had
hear
the
about
bollocks to do
commercial
a
first.
creeper, I don't know. Like, fucking hell, my head would fall off.
Hey, listen, right. So I did that thing where you go to prison and you write off all your all
TIC,
sort of TIC. Yeah, see.
take
So I
into
did that. I
consideration.
wrote. I saw other people TIC. That's it. I saw other people doing it. I was like, "What are you doing?" And they was like, "Oh, like TIC. They take it into consideration and wipe you. Like, so when you come out, you've got nothing waiting for you." So I wrote this guy. Literally, I wrote a handwritten letter to Slough CID saying, "Is there any chance I could take advantage of that?" And they came in. Do you know what though? Right? They made sure that I ticked off a load of things that I hadn't done, as well as the stuff that I had
Just
done.
to tick boxes so they can put that
Yeah,
crime to
yeah.
bed. You know what I mean?
And we both knew what we were doing. Do you know what I mean? We knew what game we were playing, but it shows. Listen, there's all a swamp out there. But yeah, listen, like creepers. I'm not bragging about it because I was very ashamed of it.
No.
But I was good at it. I never got caught ever. Do you know what I mean? But I was like 6 stone. Do you know what I mean? Fucking tiny little thing climbing through windows and stuff like.
And when you're in that position, you're homeless or you're in positions where you need to eat or you need to fix for the drugs, because once the drugs got older, you're fucked. You're fucked.
Well,
And
I hated the world.
Everything else. It will come before food. It will come before
Yeah,
friends. It
yeah.
will come before anything else.
I resented people that were happy. Do you know what I mean? Like people that were living normal, happy lives. I was full of resentment for that.
I still don't. These naturally happy people. I don't. These
Yeah,
naturally buzzy.
yeah.
I still don't understand them. I praise them. Brilliant for you. But I don't understand it.
Well, I wouldn't even say it was about the naturally. I was resentful of people that had normal lives. Do you know what I mean? Where they'd had, just stuff around them growing up. Like, do you know what I mean? And but it was almost like I hated them for it. So when I was stealing from people's houses and stuff, I almost thought they deserved it for having the fucking gall to have a normal life that panned out okay for them. Do you know what I mean?
I have that? Like, I
so my my morals were non-existent. I didn't give a fuck. Do you know what I mean? It was a horror. But you look back, like what you're saying at the time, you're like, oh well, fuck. But I look back, awful time of my life, like manically depressed.
And you live with that now. You punish yourself with it still now.
Yeah. I feel.
I was talking to a health worker on the way back on the bus. Now I was talking to a guy who's working with me because of December and his breakdown. He's working with me, and he was explaining the same. He's like that punishment thing. He said it's a dangerous game. He said because the more you punish yourself, the worse you get. He said you can't change the past. There's nothing you can do about it. Beating yourself up every day about it, it's just going to make you more and more ill.
Fred touched on it where Fred, who I've done a couple of podcasts with, Fred Wild, a friend of mine. He touched on it saying that it's got to be a drive. It's got to be a driving force behind why I'm like a little Che Guevara on some fucking weird mission to try and change the world and shit. You know what I mean? And it's because like I'm gutted. Like there's times where I lie there and I'm absolutely gutted. Like even now I'm talking about it, I'm getting upset knowing that
it's a way of making yourself better. Like it's a way of making yourself better. Like, you know what I mean? Because the way I feel is if you help other people, it makes you feel better, but it also sucks your energy. You know what I mean? There is
that, and there's the fact that I get so frustrated when I go out and I just see the same shit. Still, the same fucking problems facing, like, that kid that I'm talking about, the same shit facing that kid that was facing us like fucking 20 odd years ago.
That's
do you know
what
I mean?
I'm saying.
It's
this problem we were talking about now, and these places that you go to, and it's all just these fuck people. I went into custody a year and a half ago now. It was, like I said, it's the anniversary of my little boy's death. My head just fell off. Like I just wanted to sit at home and be upset. I didn't want no problem, but welfare checks got called. But then because of my name, things like that, and because they worried about armed police come to see if I'm all right. So like you've got, are you all right, mate? Like fucking covered in red dots and that. Like, are you all right? We're just checking you're all right. I'm like, well, I was like upset, grieving for my kid a minute ago. Now my head's fallen off. Like, what the fuck? And it just escalated, mate. So I ended up assaulting two of the police whilst being restrained, because I can't be restrained because of when I was younger. Obviously, I was pinned down and shit, so I can't have that. Like, you know, so I just went into defense mode. I was looking at my abusers. I weren't looking at the police. So I ended up assaulting two of them. Got put into custody, done my sentence, whatever. I don't know, a year. Come out, and they put me. I was clean. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't doing nothing. I wasn't smoking bud. I wasn't doing fuck all. I was in a good place. I'd been doing well inside. You know, like I said, I was doing the support work, and I loved it. And I didn't love the prison. I didn't love that, but I loved the fact that I had a little pass. I could go anywhere in the jail, and I had little people I could go and check on, and like, you know, I'd have my little clients that I'd do little bits with, and like, you know, making sure they're
purpose, isn't it? Purpose.
Yeah, making sure
a life
their
with
suicide
purpose.
watch is sorted, and you know, the screws would ask you like, do you think he can come off it? Do you think like he's ready to come off this, or do we need to up it and watch him more than 15 minutes and 10 minutes? And you know, that felt good that I was doing that. But obviously, when I got out, they put me in this environment, mate, and like I couldn't even go down and get my shit. It was a Cameron property from the council called Julian House, and it was from the council, you know, and it had cameras. It was a dry house. Do you know what I mean? But everyone was drinking. Everyone was often. I couldn't go down in the morning and get my breakfast without moving a smackhead gouged out, or moving fucking syringes off the side, or bicarb, or do you know what I mean? It was just, I couldn't just go down in the morning and get my breakfast. And I was begging the council. I was begging support people around, the staff from the Julian House. I was like, look, like this is supposed to be a place, a dry house, to make people stay sober, stay clean, to sort their life out and get better. And it was just a horrific environment getting there. And that's exactly the same as it was 20 years ago when I first went into them sort of places. Like, why hasn't it changed? Why, you know?
Why is everything the same?
If anything, it was worse. Like, if anything, it was worse. Like, I think it was. And it escalated in there, and I ended up like getting sectioned again. Then, like, because I just had to, and I begged. I don't know why I did, because of my experience prior. But I just thought, fuck this, man. Like, before that, I had I'd been out of trouble for 12 years. I had my dogs. I had my nice little flat. I had a nice little life. Like, do you know what I mean? It weren't nothing major, but it's more than I'd ever had. And it's more than I'd ever really wanted at the time, because I was in a comfortable place. But just because of that little breakdown, because I hadn't been fixed and I hadn't dealt with all the problems, I was still fucked. So the minute I hit a bad point in my life, I snapped back to that mental health, that problem, and obviously I broke down, and I thought, I've got to go to hospital, because I'm going to off myself, like, and I don't want to die. I don't want to do that in my right mind. I do like life, like I do, you know, I enjoy things, like, you know, I want to do things, but in that mindset, I wanted to go, mate. I wanted to go, and I was going mad in the cell. And they phoned.
Is this the time recently?
December, yeah, just gone.
Yeah.
They phoned a support worker of mine, and normally they're not allowed to come in to the police station. They're not allowed to work to come in like that. But like, they didn't know what to do, like, because like I say, they're not mental health trained. There's no, even the nurse was just like, give him a diazepam, and then just like, no, actually she wouldn't at the time. She wasn't. And I was actually on them. I was actually being prescribed them prior, but they weren't letting me have my meds as well. That was another thing. But they got this support worker in, and she sat with me for hours. I wasn't eating the food because I was so paranoid. They were stitching it up because I'd been kicking off with them. I weren't drinking, so I thought they was going to do something to it. And I'd been in there like nearly 2 days by then. And and they called this girl, like, it's my support worker, it still is now. And she sat on a pillow outside my cell for fucking hours, like, just talking to me and eating food that I was eating and drinking water that I was drinking. So like, I could trust, do you know what I mean? And this woman is the best woman ever, mate. She's, honestly, I owe her so much. Even today, she's some of these people are in it for a job. This woman's in it to help. Like, yeah. Well, anyway, she sat there with me for hours until I managed. You know, she told the doctor, well, he is on this medication, let him have it. You know, get me to the doctor. He needs to go to hospital. Like, if he's asking, and he said he's always been honest with me. He's always, you know, if he's saying this, I want him to go to hospital, sort of thing. And then I went to hospital and stuff because of it. When I came out, she was talking to me about, like, you know, do you think that they need, like people to be able to come in, support workers to be able to come into custody and things like that when there is someone that's unwell, and so it's not just dealt by the police and it's not just people that don't understand. Well, from this, I wrote to her boss. I wrote an email to her boss, a fucking great thing, praising her and explaining the situation and saying, you know, that how important it is to have someone like that being able to come into the police station and help, rather than, you know, it takes away shit from the police. Well, it must make their life much easier if they could have someone else from another service come in and look after that person, so they haven't got to keep coming bothering with them.
Yeah, and you know what? That goes back to the fact that I know that people like my mate that joined up from the Navy. I know he's a decent human being. Do you know what I mean? And I know that he will be happy that somebody like you is getting help from somebody that's qualified to give it.
Well, from that email, it created a job role, bro. I created a job role at a police station. Like from writing that email, it now changed it so that the Together support team here, drug and alcohol team, can now go into custody, and they can look after people. And it was because of that email that I did it. I wrote the email, and she WhatsApped me, and she was like, "It just made me cry." Like she said, she's like, "You like." She knows I love crystals and things like that. She bought me this fucking little crystal, and she's like, "Thank you so much." She said, "You don't understand what you've changed for other people, and you know this is so important." And yeah, and so now people can go in, like, you know, and it's such a big thing, like, you know, it's like, because
how did you jumping back, mate? How did you get out of the, you know, from where we first talked, where you ended? How long was it from when you went in for that voluntary 2 weeks to when you got out? How long? 10 months, and how did you get out?
Months. Basically, I had to go through an appeal process, right? So solicitors come and see me constantly. They were threatening to send me to a place in Doncaster, personality disorder unit. It's like a minimum 4 to 5 stay year. It's like it's a built environment for people to live. It's like fishing ponds, and it's just basically where really young people that can't be in society go and live. They were trying to send me there. And the solicitor was like, "Look, we're not going to get you there." And it's getting really close to it. It was like a couple of weeks, and they would have shipped me there. And if they shipped me there, I couldn't have done the appeal. And all of a sudden, this appeal's come through. And like before that, I'd watched like 3 people go up for the appeals and all get knocked back. And they were fine. They were like me, really, in the same sort of thing. And they all got knocked back. So I'm thinking, fuck, like, you know, like, I'm not going to win this. And this is 10 months later. And it's like a court. You sit in a room with psychiatrists. We had to get an independent. Me and my mum sorted it out. We got like an independent psychiatrist came in, like, not from that hospital. So it's not someone that's trying to keep me there. It's someone, you know. And this solicitor, they came in, and we had to do this, like, it's like a little court, small, like a magistrate sort of room. Do you know what I mean? It's not like a big county court. So we sit there, and the psychiatrist from the hospital was like, if we release him, he's going to be dead within a couple of days. He's going to do something within a couple of days. Well, I'm still here, mate. But anyway, we don't think he could ever go back into society. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? Like, the only reason I'm ever kicking off or I'm anything is because I'm begging to get out. Like, this Pathfinder team I was talking about, they'd come see me every couple of days, and I'd walk around the like yard bit with them, and they'd just talk to me about. They wanted to talk about everything, but all I would ever talk about was getting out. I was so dead focused on getting out because I knew it was making me so unwell in there. Like I before I went in there, I was unwell, like a little bit, like everyone has, really. Everyone has problems. I was just unwell. I just wanted to get better for that 2 weeks, but it created a monster whilst I was in there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's hard to explain, mate. It was hard to explain, but when it come up to the appeal process, I thought, you need to behave now, mate, because you can't keep kicking off because you're not going to win this appeal. So for a month, I didn't get out of my bed other than to go for food and speak to someone on the phone. I literally just stayed in my bed, didn't do anything for a month, behaved, kept my head down, like literally just slept, mate, because the amount of meds they had me on, I was just slept. Went up to this appeal process. Like I say, the psychiatrist is trying to say, no, he can't be released. But it's the independent one was like, well, this place is making him unwell. He said, from talking to him, from looking at him, people with personality disorders shouldn't be in hospital because it's not the same as a schizophrenic or a bipolar. It's not. It's just emotionally unstable. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's weird, isn't it? Because I'm just sitting here thinking that actually, like, the image in my head of when I was saying to you like, you know, it sounds almost appealing, the idea of being able to section yourself and go off to. But in my
Yeah,
mind,
like
I
a little
think of,
holiday away from everything, and like
in my
no
mind, what I think of is take everything away from me so that I can just relax. Do you know what I mean? And then like give me the gym so that I can go to the gym properly every day. Feed me nice food. Let me just chill out, get away from all the stress, and talk to me. And if you just did
yeah,
those things, that would make me feel a whole lot better in life. But instead, they've just jabbed you up with loads of shit and
yeah,
fucking wiped you
yeah.
out. Do you know
Like
what
they
I
have all
mean?
the
And then,
stuff in there to make it look good. It's probably somewhere they have their, like, I don't know, Ofsteds or whatever. They probably where they have their fucking
yeah,
they've got it all there so it looks good, but they
yeah,
don't do it. They don't do it. Do you know what I mean? I've been in 3 different hospitals, and none of them, they've all been the same. Like, you know what I mean? None. Um, but yeah, this appeal thing, he was, this solicitor was independent psychiatrist, was like, this it's not built for people like him. He's not what you're creating a problem here. Like, try what I mean, you're making someone really unwell. That is just asking for help. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not someone that's schizophrenic hearing voices that needs to be put in somewhere secure like that because he's going to hurt someone. I was just grieving and hurting and fucking just traumatized. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't like, and so it was just breeding insanity. And they took me in like an hour to decide. And my mum was in there, and I actually blagged. I said, "Oh, mate, a mate's gonna give me a job when I get out. If you let me out." They released me into my mum's house, to my mum's care,
right.
and they were like, I just said, "Oh, my mate's gonna give me a job when if I can get out, and I'm gonna do all of this and do that." So look, that part was a lie, but I had to add that to it. Like, do you know what I mean? Because if they thought I'm just gonna go out and like do whatever, like less chance of me being released. So like this, like my solicitor didn't tell me to do it, but he sort of like said, right, you need to sort of show them what you're going to do when you get out. Like, you need to like, but I didn't have nothing to do, so I just made it up. Like, I had to. Like, I said, oh, my mates offered me a job, and if I get out, I'll go and do it, and all this. And yeah, it took like nearly an hour, man. My mum's crying her eyes out. It was a fucking mess. Like, and walked back in the room, and the psychiatrist from the hospital looked fuming. Like, he did not want to let me out. The guy fucking hated me anyway because I'd had so many fights with him. Like, I threw chair at him, fucking, because he's tried to blame my parents and stuff. He was doing like a little psychiatric chat with me, some sort of, and he was like, he's trying to blame my parents for like why I was like it, and there's fuck all to do with them. And like, I fucking lost it, mate. Just threw a chair at him. Like, I said, you silly cunt. Do you know what I mean? I said, you are the problem. Like, you are the problem. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. You honestly don't know what you're talking about. You know, because he he was a weird bloke. It almost comes down to like they wanted me there. Like, it felt like they wanted me there. Like, it was odd behaviour. Like, because even all the staff, like the women staff there and stuff, like I'd always chill with them, and like, and I'd walk about with them and chat to them. I was good friends with them, and like,
Are you better around women than men?
yeah, I don't trust
It
men, bro,
sounds like it.
because of what happened when I was younger and stuff.
Yeah,
Don't overly have a load of male. I've got male friends, few, but most of my friends are women. I don't
yeah. It's
trust.
funny. It's I'm not. Most of my friends aren't women. I'm sort of one of the lads kind of thing. But it's weird because when I was speaking for an
I don't
age,
fit into
but
that scenario.
yeah.
Don't like
So
football. Don't like all that
no,
shit. I
I
don't nothing to
so I'm
say.
all right. I'm all right in that environment, but it's weird looking back. I had a friend of mine who was asking me something. It was Charlie T, actually, my very funny friend I love. But we were talking about the fact that there's a few people from when I was growing up that I was a bit of a bully to, like, and I was not a bully, but I was just a bit of a head case in school. Like, I would pick on like a lot of banter. Do you know what I mean? I would give people lots of shit, and do you know what I mean? But he was saying, "Oh,
That's
what
how
about
we
girls?"
met. That's how we met, wasn't it? On the
Yeah,
boxing
yeah,
page,
yeah,
you took
yeah,
the piss out of me, and I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
oh, and then we just became friends instantly. Do you remember?
No, do you know what it was? I'll tell you what it was. I was taking a piss. I think I was taking a piss out your tattoos on your face and that, just like
Yeah, you were.
banter. But then I think we asked what one of the tattoos was, and it was to do with the son that you lost. And instantly, all the people that had been taking the piss out of you, including myself, just went, "Really sorry to hear about that, mate." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
I could
it
take
went
it on the
from
chin, like, do you know what I mean? So I
yeah, but
understand what it looks like.
it just it's good that it went from banter where we was all being a bit, we were just being cunts to each other. So as soon as actually we found out that there was something like that had gone on, everybody was just like, no, we don't joke about that. Like, and then from there, slowly,
you inboxed
slowly,
me, didn't you?
surely. Yeah, and then it turned out that you lived in Exeter, so I was laughing because I was like, well, I'm not that far away, so I better not say too much in case you drive down and fight with me.
Yeah, it was good. It sparked off a good friendship, and I appreciate you.
Yeah,
You're a good
no,
bloke, mate.
and
I said to Louise on her post, I said, "You're a fucking good egg, mate. You want to help people, and that's all it's about." You know what I mean?
We've had a couple of conversations, and I know some people take the piss out of me because I'm a bit like over the top with the fact that I do get a bit Che Guevara, and actually there was a period where I was loving the sort of attention, if you like. Do you know what I mean? It went from, because it had gone from the fact that I'd been this homeless fuck up for years to all of a sudden people were celebrating me, and it was nice that.
I'm making an impact. I'm not taking. Yeah, but I'm giving.
Recently something happened where a couple of people were pointing out that it come across a bit like begging for attention online. And actually, I thought, let's take myself a little bit more seriously about the stuff that I do and what I'm capable of. Do you know what I mean? Because I've now got a track record for setting things up and creating things that help people, and I'm not intimidated by any kind of like authority anymore. You can put me in a room with anybody, and when I talk to them, I feel like intellectually on the same level. So that's why I'm doing Hood X, even though I got ripped off doing something else. You know what I mean? I'll probably leave myself open a bit.
I know, because that was going to spar off, and it was going to come down to it. It's going to come down to X. It was plans for that to go.
Mate, that sports trader thing, mate. And I was saying, listen, if you just leave it to me, I will build you something that's really good. But everybody got greedy. Matey, got himself 20 grand off the Ministry of Justice. That's been pissed up the wall. That went into a back pocket. You know what I mean? 3 grand of that got spent. And now they're saying that they managed to use it for this. They're ticking boxes saying, it got used for this, it got used for that. And I will call people out. And listen, I will call people out, last tag into OBE. I will call out fucking Sports Trader, anybody. And if they think that I'm lying about the fact that they're crooks, they're welcome to come and sue me. Yeah, they're welcome. Listen, they're welcome to come and challenge that I'm saying that they're crooks. They're full of shit. The charity world's a swamp, right? But I'm still deep in it, and I'm going to try and change it from the inside out just a little bit. I want to wrap it up. I'll probably just stay on and talk to you afterwards, but I want to wrap it up. I just want to say thank you for coming on.
No problem. And I've waffled a lot because there's so much waffled, and it probably won't make sense to people. So you better be good at editing.
To be honest, I'm going to whack this up in its whole. But I get the feeling that me and you and I think there's a few more podcasts in us, you know what I mean, to talk about some of the
I'm
stuff.
game. I'm always game. I've got, not just the mental health side. I've got a lot. There's not much I haven't been through. That's the point now.
Yeah.
It's not many scenarios in life that people know. A lot of people will have that one problem, and that's what fucks them up. And I've been through most of them. And
really you're like me, man. It's just a multitude of things, and there are times where I think, I was talking to my friend Justine the other day, and like we were talking about, it's not just one or two things. It's fucking childhood abuse. It's the care system. It's homelessness. It's drug addiction. It's crime. It's this. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, my mum
will fuck someone up.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And then, as everything was calming down, my mum committed suicide by setting fire to herself and shit. And it was like my head was a mess and that. And then there's times now where doing things like this, right? Like, it doesn't fucking make everything okay, but at least I can use those things for a bit of a positive, because I was speaking to a friend, Yusuf, the other day. I stopped doing these, and I thought, there's not really much point. And Yusuf hasn't come from any kind of this background. He hasn't come from this background. He said, no, do them, mate, because I watched them all. Because
do them.
It gives me an insight into things. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to keep doing these.
Even if it helps one person.
Yeah, it's a cliche, but it's true, mate.
Even if every video you put up helps one person, or they look at it and they think, well, it's nice to know there's other people like you as well, and it's nice to know other people have been through shit like you. So like, to hear stuff and people's stories, it makes you feel like, fucking hell, it ain't just me. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, so stuff like this is beneficial.
If anybody is watching this, I never used to do this. If anybody is watching this, that it's helped. One, you can always DM me, and I mean that shit when I say that. You know that. You can always DM me. Me and you have fucking wrong each other at stupid o'clock in the mornings at times, have big fucking conversations. They've helped me, they've helped you. Subscribe to the channel. I'm going to start doing a bit more on it. Give it a like, give it a share. Thank you very much for talking to me, Tim. We're going to do some more stuff soon. I'll just click end record.